Hello again, guys. It is I, Freeze700. We are back with some Kingdom Under Fire lore. This time, the Annexation of Hexter. So, the Annexation of Hexter took place roughly about 5 years before the First War of Crusaders. So, this is during the fall of Arayan, also known as the capture of Arayan. Essentially, what's going on here is the Dark Legion is trying to grow. But the issue is that Arayan is a good strong point. So they have to hack at it. And by hacking at it, they realize that they need the orcs to do it. For manual labor, but also for their toughness. So Dark Legion is starting to grow reliant on the orcs that they have. But the issue is that the ones who are controlling the orcs are the Dark Elves. And they're very rebellious. They do not like being bossed around by the vampires. After all, the vampires live in luxury and they don't have to fight these wars. All they do is just simply command them what to do. Sure, they'll send one vampire or two to actually lead the attack force, but very rarely do they actually get their hands dirty. So, of course, with the High Elves being highly arrogant, believing that they're superior to everybody, being in the middle class is not a good thing for them. And they are, after all, reliant on the Dark Elves to pretty much succeed their empire. So the issue has become is that once they take over Arayan, their empire may have grown too much with very little real control over the outlying territory. So, of course, the Dark Elves could take advantage of the situation and rebel. This is not good for King Valdemar or his vampires. Last thing he needs is a rebellion on top of the humans and the elves trying to fight him back. So, in an effort to expand his empire, but also to consolidate his power to actually control everything, he is trying to secure Hexter, because taking over Hexter would give him both goals. Taking over Hexter would give him the strength to take over Arayan, but having the orcs under his direct control would keep the Dark Elves in place as the middle class of VELLOND, because the Dark Elves would not rebel if Valdemar has another army at his disposal that is equal in strength to the Dark Elves. Again, the orcs' toughness is their greatest strength. The Dark Elves are very nimble, but they have great magical prowess. So the two equal each other out. So in order to do this, he enacts the appeasement policy. The appeasement policy is where orcs are treated fairly, but they're also given free stuff. Now, this free stuff can be free gear. It can be lucrative trade deals with VELLOND. Anything can be given to them. Of course, this is only for tribes that are willing to conquer in VELLOND's name. But even better is that the more successful you are, the greater the stuff is you're going to get from VELLOND. These will be awesome weapons. Because mind you, orcs aren't exactly talented with craftsmanship. They just make a crude iron club. And hey, sure, a few nails fall off every time they hit somebody with it. But at least they can still use it to just bash something down. They don't need something that's really tough and durable. They just need something that can just do its job. Bash a guy down. Sure, the weapon breaks, but hey, at least the guy's dead. VELLOND, on the other hand, they have the knowledge to create axes that are well refined, have a sharp edge, that don't simply chip or break with every attack. This, of course, is a big advantage to Hexter. Also, Hexter, during this time period, is very poor in minerals and very poor in resources. So being able to be having all these weapons is really a luxury to these people. Also having their food brought in for them instead of having to struggle to harvest in the desert. God damn, this is a good deal for a lot of the tribes. So many tribes take up to it. This, of course, does not settle well with the other tribes. So now the once peaceful 30 tribes that have existed are now broken into turmoil. It is full-on civil war. Leading the VELLOND side is the Daroka tribe. Originally they were one of the weakest tribes, but now with VELLOND's support, they've secured themselves securely in the second strongest tribe of Hexter. They've taken over many tribes that locally exist around them. Other tribes, out of respect for them, they left them neutral. The next would be the Gorzanic tribe. The Gorzanic tribe is the main anti-VELLOND tribe. They're the strongest of all of Hexter. They live around the Altar of Destruction in Deep Hexter, and is against VELLOND because their argument is that VELLOND is just trying to enslave everybody. VELLOND does not look at orcs as equals, but as slaves. The next tribe, well, I should say the few tribes that are remaining are pretty much neutral, but they do fall prey to being enslaved by the pro-VELLOND orcs or being subjugated by the anti-VELLOND orcs. If you're a neutral tribe and you live next to the Gorzanics, they will beat your ass. They will kill your chieftain in an honorable fight, and they will force you to join their forces against VELLOND. If you live near a pro-VELLOND tribe, they will beat your ass and take all your orcs and sell them as slaves to VELLOND for better trade deals. That being said, the only real tribe that we know of that stayed completely neutral would be the Jurai tribe, which is the third strongest in Hexter. They live somewhat in the forest near Heronodon. Now, the only reason why they broke their neutrality is because they became friends with a few inquisitors who appeased them. They saved their tribe from human skirmishes, and they also stuck around and helped them out against a few things. Now, some tribes, like the Nerazim, saw advantages to being with VELLOND, and they engaged in open slavery, selling Gorzanic soldiers to VELLOND. Other tribes were wiped out and resurrected as ghouls. The whole slavery and messing with the sacred dead, were huge driving points for the Gorzanic on why VELLOND cannot be trusted. But then you had the Jurai tribe where they're like, well, hey, VELLOND is willing to stick their neck out and help us with our day-to-day problems. So maybe they're not that bad. As you can see, the way that the two tribes have been more or less influenced by VELLOND on their day-to-day basis has definitely driven their point of view. You got the Gorzanics, who are anti-VELLOND, and they just see the worst of it. They just keep seeing VELLOND enslaving tribes, they keep seeing VELLOND resurrecting ghouls. So, of course, they're going to say, hey, VELLOND is really fucked. We should probably fight against them. Then you got the Jurai tribe and Daroka tribe and the Nerazim, where they're like, hey, man, we're getting free stuff. All we gotta do is say we like VELLOND. We don't even really have to fight. This is a good deal. We're living luxury now. So, of course, both sides have their own points of view. Interestingly enough, this appeasement policy would have probably worked. Honestly, if it never got any sort of entanglement from outside affairs, I think this deal would have worked and just wiped out the Gorzanics and wiped out any anti-VELLOND sentiment. But, unfortunately, like all plans and policies, they do not work the way that we thought they would work. So, let's get into the ways that this did not work. The very beginning of this appeasement policy already looked to be a little shaky, because the Dark Elves, who are spending their day-to-day with the Orcs, are complaining, day in, day out. Nothing about the Dark Elves makes them happy. The Dark Elves just keep complaining and complaining about sharing barracks, about catching orcs peeping on them. Also, the Dark Elves are having a very hard time understanding the orcs. It's not that the orcs speak a different language, it's just that their language is so garbled from all the tusk and the teeth, and the fact that they're very uneducated, unsophisticated. To the orcs, they don't really mind, they just find everything fucking confusing. Because you see, when you go to a orc and you tell him, I am an emissary of the great King Voldemort, he's just going to look at you and go, is emissary like chieftain? Or is that like shaman? What is that? So the issue is already pretty apparent that the cultures are a little too different. You're coming at them way too hard with your sophistication and stuff. This is one of those types of situations where being smart does not help you at all. And it's getting pretty obvious that the orcs just are either shrugging and going, okay, I guess I'll help you out because, hey, you give me free shit. Or they're getting agitated and telling the VELLOND army to just get the fuck out of their territory because, again, they're just too different. They're being told that they're going to be treated fairly, but yet they can't even be treated with common decency, and they keep getting looked down upon in every discussion because they don't know big words that are coming out of the vampires and the Dark Elves' mouths. Yeah, this is not exactly going well. The other issue is that the Gorzanic tribe is not stupid. They're actually pretty smart, and that's because of their chieftain Urukhabar. Urukhabar, despite being an ogre, is actually pretty damn clever. He starts ambushing supply runs that VELLOND is using to supply Daroka tribe and many other pro-VELLOND tribes. So a lot of supplies are no longer being delivered to the pro-VELLOND tribes, and they're starting to get pissy. They're going, well then, if VELLOND cannot secure its own supply trade, clearly they are weaker. And again, to the Orc Society, might kind of does make right. So if they're sitting there going, VELLOND's having a very hard time doing a very basic task, like traversing Hexter, then maybe they don't deserve our support. Maybe they're too weak to govern us. And then you also got a few other issues, like the Dark Elves have a bit of a rebellion group. They have a rebellious group called the Cadis. And the Cadis wish to destroy all vampires and let it be known that there will be an empire ruled strictly by Dark Elves. No vampires at all unless they are servants or lower class than the Dark Elves. The issue is that the Dark Elves know exactly what pisses off the Orcs. VELLOND does not. VELLOND is very unaware of the traditions and the cultures in the Orc society. They don't understand that the dead is sacred to the Orcs. They didn't know this. They just thought that it was just another tactic. Just resurrecting the dead and using them to fight. Shit, that's a pretty effective tactic because they're already dead. What harm could there be? To the Orcs, it's a very sacred and spiritual thing to desecrate a body like this. So, of course, this is what the Cadis do. They decide to destroy pro-VELLOND tribes or neutral tribes and then resurrect them as full-on ghoul armies. And then with these ghoul armies, simply go to another army, go to another tribe, desecrate it, resurrect it, now your army is even bigger. This, of course, did not settle well with a lot of the tribes that existed even for VELLOND. The Daroka tribe was so disgusted by this blatant act of necromancy and just desecrating their dead that they full-on quit supporting VELLOND in the later stage of the annexation of Hexter. Now, VELLOND is not aware of most of this. They only caught wind of it when it was far too late. They did not know that the rebellious Dark Elves had this much power or made this much success in their plans. The Orcs did not understand that there is two VELLOND they are dealing with. They're dealing with the real VELLOND, and then they're dealing with rebellions. The rebels who are just simply out there to fuck everything that VELLOND is doing. Now, despite the fact that there is obviously a glaring misunderstanding here, you would think that all that they would have to do is just simply send another emissary, just say, hey, whoa, let's talk about this. The issue is that the Orcs are, again, a very simple bunch. They see an injustice, they take up arms against it. They do not stop and talk. They are not going to pull a Hamlet from Shakespeare where they just simply dilly-dally and go, do I kill my uncle? There's a lot of evidence that says that maybe he's the killer, but there's one little piece of evidence that says he might not be the killer. No, the Orcs are very quick. They are quick to anger, and they are very hard to appease once they are angered. So that is exactly what happened. For all the months that they have spent giving Hexter free stuff and receiving slaves, it is all in shambles because of this one issue: the necromancy. Now, the ones that were pro-VELLOND swiftly got destroyed by the Cadis army of ghouls, or were swiftly turned against VELLOND upon seeing the ghoul army. The Gorzanic tribe simply started to lead a united Hexter. There's only one tribe that we know of that fully supported VELLOND to the end, and that would be the Jurai tribe. And that's only because of all the recent developments with Lionheart's campaign, where he shows that they are willing to work together as allies, not as a servant to a master. So with the Jurai tribe basically being the only tribe that knows, hey, these are rebellious Dark Elves, their word did not really get too far. Again, it's very hard to talk to someone when they're pissed off, raging mad, yelling, kicking, and screaming. It's very hard to have a civil discussion with them. So the Jedi tribe pretty much sacrifices itself to protect the VELLOND emissaries as they leave Hexter and retreat back to the Dark Legion's main place, VELLOND. This, of course, is a real kick in the balls, because now all the Inquisitors return, and they basically have nothing to give to King Valdemar. Everything is in shambles. They didn't get a single fucking tribe. After all the work they put into, everything just fell apart due to these few issues. The culture, the fact that the Dark Elves are just simply snobbish, so it's very hard to have them live on a day-to-day basis. The fucking language difference, there's a huge language barrier. Now, they're not speaking different languages, it's just that they are very obviously not getting anywhere as far as discussions go. And, of course, the interceptions by the Caedus, by simply fucking with their goddamn orders all the time. So, of course, this puts Valdemar in a very peculiar situation. Here he is, he took over Arayan, but he does not have Hexter. This means only one thing. He needs to double his efforts in taking over Hexter, but he cannot do it the way he was doing it before. So he abolishes the appeasement policy. Now he puts someone else in charge of the whole annexation of Hexter. A newcomer. Someone who just popped out of the blue and talked to Valdemar personally, which is a very rare fucking thing. Even the highest of generals do not speak to Valdemar directly. That would be Raniere. Raniere just simply comes out of nowhere. Huge ass fucking human, easily 7 feet tall, huge muscular build, has a two-handed giant ass sword, and just simply tells him that he will secure Hexter for him in just 2 months. This is a very peculiar offer, and it's even more peculiar why Valdemar would trust some human, demon, weird fucking dude who just literally popped out of nowhere and has no reputation behind him. As it turns out, Raniere is immortal. This, of course, would probably have influenced Valdemar's decisions right then and there. Here's an immortal being that could literally choke an ogre with his bare hands, and he is telling you he can annex all of Hexter in 2 months. Yeah, you take that fucking deal. So that's exactly what he did. He gave Raniere a small contingent, and Raniere simply told his contingent, stand back, I'm going to deal with this. And he proceeded to go to a camp where all 30 tribes were pretty much residing in cohesion. He butchered everybody in those 2 months. Every orc tribe that stood in his way, he butchered with absolute power. And the best part about it is that Raniere took very little losses. Now, as I said, orcs are ones to believe in the whole might makes right thing. So seeing an individual take on 30 orc and ogre tribes single-handedly and just whoop their asses has definitely sent shockwaves throughout their whole unification. The whole independent Hexter has now all of a sudden turned sour. Now they're like, hey, we should probably make peace with VELLOND and just join them, because this dude is going to annihilate us if we let this continue. Arukabar, the Gorzanic tribe, become very desperate to cling on to this idea of an independent Hexter, so they make one huge gambit. They assemble as many wyverns, dirigibles, and scorpions as they possibly can. And by assembling this huge force of supporting forces, they try to overwhelm Raniere's forces and just annihilate him with this overwhelming amount of dragons and, of course, monsters. The problem is that Raniere is a lot smarter than that. His contingent was literally nothing but Dark Elf archers. So, all those scorpions get cooked by Raniere's fire magic, and then all the wyverns and dirigibles get shot down by his huge army of fucking archers. I've never seen so many fucking archers before. But that last mission was very fun to play in Lionheart because, so many goddamn fucking archers. This being said, Raniere pretty much makes a stand against Arukabar and demands to become the protector of Hexter. Arukabar says, if you think you are strong enough, then you must take it from me. Very poor choice of words, so Raniere beats his ass. Here's a bit of a lore conflict. In Kingdom Under Fire Crusaders, it shows that he beats his ass and pretty much looks like he kills him. But, of course, that is not what happens. Instead, what actually happens is Arukabar gets subjugated and turned into this dumb trophy. I would say dumb only because it seems like all of his intelligence got sucked out of him after he got his ass beaten. He almost got turned retarded from getting beaten this bad by Raniere. In the beating, of course, Raniere turned him into pretty much a puppet, a trophy, basically symbolizing his power. Raniere's like, if I could take him on, what makes you think you could take me on? So all of Hexter becomes united under Raniere, not under VELLOND. This has led to a very peculiar situation where VELLOND now has orcs. The Dark Legion has orcs. Awesome. But the orcs are technically neutral. They're not actually part of VELLOND. So this is where the issue becomes. Now the Dark Elves pretty much have to respect two authority figures, King Valdemar and Lord Raniere. But neither of them are Dark Elves. But the Dark Elves are not going to be double rebellious. They're actually kept in check because of one big glaring issue. Valdemar is super powerful because he has all these allies he can now pull, aka the orcs. And Raniere is fucking immortal. You cannot kill him. The Cadus have tried assassinating him. It doesn't work. He is immortal. No one knows how to kill him. So, the Dark Elves have no real choice but to sit there and be led by these two figures. The only issue is that these two figures do not obviously see eye to eye. Hexter is pretty much autonomous. It is free of VELLOND's control, as much as Raniere wills it. So if Raniere decided to, he could just say, fuck you, I'm taking every orc out of your empire and they're going to be under my control. And we're just going to simply stay in Hexter. He can do that. VELLOND cannot dispute that. But the issue obviously is that Valdemar is a little bit power hungry. So while Raniere cannot be killed, Valdemar does look for ways to somehow control him. Because after all, who would want to kill an immortal weapon of war? It's better to conquer him and subjugate him, whether it's with magic or whether it's through some sort of connection he has. So pretty much that's what happens from here on out, is that now with Hexter quote-unquote annexed, now the next goal is annexing Raniere. That is the next big goal for VELLOND. Besides that, this has been Freezer700. I am out. Peace. Like, comment, subscribe as always, but also comment down below what you guys think about this. Did you not know most of this, or did you think that, hey, I already knew most of this, but damn, this is a pretty good way of putting it. Besides that, see you guys next time.